Hello, everybody. Welcome to Say No Until It Feels Good. My name is Brenda Abdilla. I'm a career and leadership coach, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic today. We will only be together for 15 minutes. I figure it's easier for us to focus and not multitask if it's a shorter period of time. So we've all been on that, 90-minute webinar, and it's just a little hard to focus. So today's webinar will be 15 minutes. We do have a fun PowerPoint for you, so if you can get to a screen, that'll be terrific. You're also, because you registered for it, you'll get a copy of the program with the screen in your inbox after we get that ready after the program today. So this is a funny little webinar workshop, because the way that it came about is that about 6 or 8 months ago, I was being interviewed by a podcast called Mindfluence Revolution. And it's a really cool podcast, and we were talking about time management. And at some point, the interviewer and I were talking about how people need to learn to say no. And at that time, I said, well, somebody needs to write a program to teach us how to say no. And as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I knew that it was me. So anyway, here is a shortened version of a program that I did for the Sheridan Women's Conference this past spring. And I created a little model that I'll go over with you today. So hang on, because I just pressed the wrong button. Okay, so I should also tell you that Laura is there if you're having any issues. You can talk to her in chat and she will help you. So hopefully I'm gonna figure out how to advance my slides, because I'm having some trouble doing that.
Can you switch back down at the bottom of your screen?
Let me see. Yes, thank you, Laura. I can be pretty, but maybe not that smart. Maybe not as smart as this gal on the slide. Okay, thanks, Laura. Okay, so I'm going to be your coach for the next 13 minutes. And so this is just pretend like you're entering into a coaching session, and that's what I'm going to do with you. So here's your coaching question. And if you can, I want you to take out a sticky note or pull over if you're driving and actually write this down. So what do you want your life to look like in the next 6 months? So I want you to think ahead and ask yourself that question. What do I really want? And you need to come up with at least 5 answers. If you have 10, that's even better. But think about what you want your life to look like 6 months from now. And if that little critical voice pops into your head, just set it aside. It's not relevant. It's not helpful. So I want you to just take a moment and think about the next 6 months and what it is that you really want in all categories of life. What comes up for you? Maybe you're in a new position. Maybe you feel good in your skin because you've been exercising and taking great care of yourself. Maybe you finish your kitchen or finish your degree. What is it that you want your life to look like in 6 months? So now I want you to ask yourself, what's the biggest obstacle? So if that 6-month view is a dream for yourself, what is the biggest obstacle? And even though you're all muted, I want you to say out loud what your biggest obstacle to achieving that 6-month vision is. Okay? Well, here's what I think it is. The obstacle is saying yes. It's saying yes to the, way too many choices that we have. It's saying yes to the shiny object in our business and being distracted from our focus. It's saying yes to the traditions in our lives that stopped feeling good a long time ago. And one of these is probably going to hit you hard. They're not all true for all of us, but for some of us, for most of us, one of them is just going to be like, oh, We're saying yes to the tyrants and bullies and narcissists in our life who draw and draw and draw from us until nothing is left. We're saying yes to the impossible standard that keeps us driving way past the point of excellence, just OCD level perfection. We say yes to the tyranny of the urgent that keeps us constantly running. That is what I hear in my coaching practice the most. With all levels, that people just feel like they're running. I came across this great quote: "We must say no to treating ourselves, our health, our need as not important as someone else's. We must say no," by Suzette Hinton. So which one of these on the list is your Achilles heel? Which is the one that really could use some looking at? So the leading cause of yes, of too much yes, is, and I mean yes, verb. It is a verb. We are actively engaged in the too much, in saying yes to too much. So one is perfectionism, that whole I must get this right, I must expect more from myself, you know, that shoulding on yourself. Another is people pleasing, that essentially on some level we may place more value on others than our own body, mind, and spirit, that we are choosing others. And yes, it's necessary in some places in our lives. You know, maybe you're a parent and a trial attorney and you have elderly parents. All of that is understandable, but we are still ultimately in charge. And of course, we're no good to anybody if we fall ill or you know, are just unable to do to keep our promises. False humility is another reason that we say yes. In that we have, you know, a lot of us were raised with, you know, just take it down a notch. You don't matter that much. You're not that important. You know, just bite the bullet and do it, and be humble about it. And then the other is guilt. I should do it. I have to. That's how I was raised. That's what my mother would want from me. So I'm sure all of these are familiar for you. So the thing that really always floors my clients is the fact that, from my perspective, by the time you feel resentment, and this gal in the slide, I hope you can see her because she looks really unhappy. By the time you feel resentment, it's because you've overgiven. And, you know, when you have that dialogue with yourself of who does this and who doesn't thank for that and who doesn't appreciate me and that kind of thing, that's resentment, and that is your indicator that you have overgiven. That is your choice, unfortunately. Okay, so which you do you prefer? Who is it that you want to be? And you kind of have to, you shush that little martyr voice or that critic voice that says, I don't have choice, you don't understand, I have so much going on. You know, that is just it's a voice, but it's not a very helpful voice. Okay, so now let's take a look at the model. So novice at the top is the person who feels they have absolutely no choice in their lives, that their life is just one continual obligation. And some of it, too, a little bit of it is religion too. This is kind of how I was raised, that, you know, life is a burden and an obligation, and that's how it's meant to be. And so just, you know, shut up and keep moving until you drop. So the novice, as far as the saying no, is somebody who just feels a life of obligation. And we're going to talk about this sort of progression, but realize that you don't sort of get to the bottom where you graciously say no and let it go and live there. We all sort of have to kind of go through this model every day. And there are different categories in our lives. In some categories of our lives, we're really good at saying no. So, you know, the further rung, you know, if you start at the top, your life is obligation, you have no choice. You're resentful and overwhelmed. What about those of us that say yes when we mean no? Like, we kind of know at the time that we're not going to do it, but we'll just, you know, wiggle out of it later because we don't have the nerve to say no, to stand on our own 2 feet, to stand our ground. Some people say yes and cancel later. Now, sometimes this happens. For example, sometimes this is because we don't understand our own limits. I went to a networking event last night put on by somebody that I adore. I loved everybody there. I loved every minute of it. But I have a limitation. I need sleep more than anything in order to be able to perform at the level that I do. And so I had to cancel something this afternoon because I was out late last night. I didn't get enough sleep. I don't, not feeling super good, but I don't want to get sick. So sometimes we say yes now and cancel later just because we're not taking care of ourselves, because we didn't have enough foresight in our schedule to realize that we are human and that each of us have limitations. Now, when you start really getting toward the center, that now you're heading toward ninja. And what I want you to do after today, especially if you live in that sort of top section of this model, is really ponder some areas that you can say no in the future and pick really easy things. Because, face it, most of us who are saying yes, who are overbooked, who are over-obligated, there are things that we can put off and nobody's going to die. And so just ponder what those might be. All right, in the middle, turning point to saying no, to cutting down on how much you say yes to, is to say maybe and to say I will let you know. That is a powerful turn, and those phrases can change your life. To say maybe and mean it. I can't remember what expert said that, but it's brilliant. All right, now you're getting into the ninja territory where you have more freedom, you have more choice in your life, you feel that choice, you feel more empowered, and that ultimately, and you'll see after you do it a little bit, you realize that saying yes or no is really not that big of a deal, that we place so much emphasis on it, we put so much pressure on ourselves. It's really not, people are not really watching us that closely. Another level is that you practice declining small requests. Just get really good at rehearsing. When you get really awesome, you say no before somebody asks. When they're going to ask you to be on the PTA or the board, you say, I know you're going to ask me for next year, and I'm going to go ahead and decline because I have so much going on. You say no preemptively. I know that scares a lot of people. And then ultimately, we say no graciously with clear eyes and confidence, and then we let it go. So that's the model that I created. And the question for you is, are you ready to be more of a ninja? And the idea is to keep your eye on that 6-month version of yourself that you created. Create a better and more solid vision of the you that you are interested in being 6 months from now. And then it's so much easier to say no when you want to say no, and say yes to the bigger things, to say yes to the things that are going to get you there. Okay, I love this quote by Jim Collins because it's so direct, and unlike Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great, who's so elegant. The myth of revolution. Big change has to be wrenching, extreme, painful, one big, discontinuous, shattering break. Wrong, 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 totally wrong. And so that's what I want to leave you with, because learning to say no, it does feel good. And when we say yes to more than we can handle, it feels bad. It doesn't feel good. And so start small, just like Jim said. It doesn't have to be this big wrenching reversal of your entire personality. A little 10% shift can make a huge, huge difference in your life. So that's what we have today. I believe Laura is going to set you up with the Stress Less for Better Success. You can download, it's an ebook that will take you through 3 exercises if you are feeling a little stressed, or just save it on your computer for a time that you need it. So I thank you very much for being here today. I hope this was helpful to you. And if it is, I hope that you'll share it with others. That's why we keep it free. And that's exactly why I do it, to just try to make professional life a tiny bit easier for everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Laura, for your help. And I will talk to you soon. I'll look forward to hearing your feedback. Bye.